All right, tomorrow is World Wildlife Day, and this year it is celebrated under the theme, Listen to the Young Voices. Given that almost 1/4 of the world's population is aged between 10 and 24, it is vital to encourage young people as the future leaders to actually rally together to address ongoing major threats to wildlife, that is including habitat change. Over-exploitation is another issue, and illicit trafficking as well. But to talk about these and other issues in our studios in Johannesburg, we joined by South African National Parks Acting Managing Executive for Conservation, that's Conservation Services, Danie Pienaar, and from our studios in Sea Point in Cape Town, we joined by Nelisiwe Vundla from WWF-SA. But just before we get on to our conversation, let's take a look at this insert. All right, Mr. Pienaar, welcome. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you so much for coming through. Obviously, we've just seen the rhinos there, and if we talk about World Wildlife Day, something that comes to mind is rhino poaching. And you were telling me earlier on that the problem is actually larger than what we think.
No, exactly. The rhino poaching is just a symptom of a much broader problem that we sit with in society. If we talk about the Kruger Park, for example, unemployment in the communities adjacent to the Kruger Park is double the national average. We're talking about 50% unemployment there.
Yeah.
So if there's no opportunities, for the youth especially, they are going to be more drawn into these criminal activities, of which rhino poaching is one.
Just before I bring Nelisiwe into the conversation, and obviously would want to know what SANParks is doing in terms of engaging with the young people on the
Correct.
issues of conservation.
It's something SANParks see as very important, and we're trying to improve more and more what we do. Currently, we've got many kids in parks type programs where we bring school children in for a day with their teachers to longer programs where they actually stay for a couple of days and their teachers and sort of get more immersed in the conservation issues of the parks. SANParks also have other programs like our Junior Honorary Rangers, which is a really important volunteer program. And then we also do more work outside the park in the communities. I know, for example, we've established a number of science laboratories at some of the schools in the vicinity of our parks. But then if I can just mention one really nice program that we started last year. A lot of the poaching originated out of Mozambique and Zimbabwe in the Transfrontier Park. So last year we started a program by bringing children from these poaching communities in Mozambique into the Kruger Park for a week. Because previously they would have had a very negative perception of Kruger Park. It's a place where their parents get caught and put in jail, or where you go and poach rhino. They've never even seen a rhino. So bringing these kids into the park, showing them something different, absolutely blew their minds and probably changed their future.
Yeah, they probably managed to get a different perspective on how they view things.
Exactly.
But Nelisiwe, hi, it's a very good morning to you once again. You started a career in conservation through an internship with WWF South Africa. Why were you drawn to this career?
Actually, very interesting that you're asking me that, because initially I wanted to be like Theati. So I wanted to be a climatologist, and my parents are actually still waiting to see me giving them a weather update.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I became involved in conservation, seeing the necessity and the need for someone to be involved in socio-economic development with communities around protected areas. So that work has already been running for quite a while in certain African countries, like Namibia, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. And we felt there was also an opportunity for South Africa to adopt similar approaches. And that is when my passion started being sparked in wanting to contribute to the development and empowerment of people in conservation.
Yeah, no, interesting enough. From wanting to be a climatologist to being a conservationist, it's quite interesting. But then, Nelisiwe, you are also involved in a project called RISE, which is a Rural Initiative for a Sustainable Environment. Talk to us about this project. What is it focusing on?
Okay, so RISE is the Rural Initiative for Sustainable Environment. It's actually a unit that we established in partnership with Southern African Wildlife College. that we developed or initiated in 2015 with funding from WWF Green Trust. And to do the work, we also received additional funding support from DEFRA UK government, where we're working with communities around the protected areas to get them involved in conservation. But beyond that, it was identifying how can they best find legal methods and mechanisms for them to benefit from wildlife to contribute to their livelihoods or socio-economic development within the community as a whole. And in working in that project, we focused a lot in developing the skills in communities to be able to manage themselves as well as the wildlife that they are living with. And the work that we are doing in the past 2 years, we've had quite some significant achievements in such a short time, where we got a lot of support from the community and getting them involved and being empowered to make their own decisions. And in them making those decisions, they are able to receive wildlife revenue to contribute to their household, and also getting them involved in natural resource management. So that has been very exciting. Yeah. But we also did recognize some of the socio-economic challenges, such as hunger, that came into play when we were on the site. And we got some great support from sandparks in distributing some food in the community, which is also serving as a threat to wildlife. So there, as Pienaar had mentioned earlier, different actors need to come into the game to make this these kinds of work a success.
No, it's quite interesting, and I see you not, Mr. Pienaar, as she is explaining to us this initiative, but initiatives or programs such as this one, Rise, how does it help Sandpark?
These types of programs are extremely important for us because what we do well is we understand conservation inside our national parks, but working with communities outside the parks, I mean, we certainly don't have the capacity or maybe even the expertise to do the work that Nelisiwe's NGO are doing in WWF and all the other NGOs, lifting the living standards, talking about developing those communities, businesses and so on. Those are skills that sandparks don't have. Yes, we can assist with providing some of the wildlife to assist these communities to actually start benefiting more from that. But there's a lot more that needs to happen. Just basic living standards in these poor rural communities needs to be changed.
Yeah, so challenges are still, too much in those communities. But we've also seen stats or figures being released this week by the Department of Environmental Affairs that over 1,000, or which is equivalent to about 3 rhinos every day, they continue to be lost due to poaching. What do you think, it's the main problem behind this? Can we say it's the issue of unemployment? There's a lot of issues. I mean, a lot of the social ills give rise to crime. I mean, rhino poaching is just one crime. These communities that we're talking about live with crime every day that you and me can't even comprehend. The security services are not as active in these areas as in the bigger cities. But the work that these NGOs and RISE are doing, we've seen positive spin-offs from that, even from rhino poaching. For example, poaching incursions from Mozambique, I believe, has about halved in the last year. And that is definitely due to partly to this work that are being done with communities where they can see some of the benefits from wildlife. And previously, they did not benefit from them at all. They didn't see any need. All right, no, we'll leave it at that, but thank you so much for coming through. We were in conversation with South African National Parks Acting Managing Executive for Conservation Services, Danie Pienaar, and from our studios in Sea Point in Cape Town, we were talking to Nelisiwe Vundla from WWF-SA. Thank you so much to both of you. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, well, there you have it. It's almost, so it's just a few seconds to 7 o'clock. Let's get you our top stories for this hour. All right, it's a very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining Morning Live on this Thursday morning, the 2nd of March. The Right to Know campaign in the Western Cape will picket at social grant pay points across Cape Town today. Right to Know wants to show support for the human rights group Black Sash. The group has launched a constitutional court application asking the South African Social Security Agency